You ever feel like your marketing funnel is just a bunch of random shit duct taped together? You have a Facebook ad here, you have a landing page there that you forgot to update, some emails that you swear you wrote a month ago but you can't find anymore, and then you're wondering why leads ghost you and sales feel like pulling teeth. This video fixes that, because I'm going to show you how to map out your entire sales funnel visually using Canva. You don't need some expensive tech bro tool that's going to cost you an arm and a leg and just cause you a headache. Canva is free and it's simple, and for most businesses it'll do the job just fine. I would know because I've worked with over 300 startups and small businesses on improving their copy and their sales funnel so they can make more money. Most of them are bootstrapped and they're overwhelmed and they feel like they're spinning plates. If that sounds like you, you'll love what I'm about to show you. First, I'll quickly go over what a sales funnel actually is without all the marketing jargon. Then I'm going to show you why mapping out your sales funnel will save you both time and money and existential dread. And finally, you'll get a step-by-step walkthrough of how I've just done it in Canva so you can follow along on your own screen. And if you want to see part of my sales funnel, there's a link in the description to a landing page where you can sign up to my free copywriting email course. I'll email you a free tip every day for 30 days, and you can implement these directly into your sales funnel as well. So first up, what is a sales funnel? It's just a fancy way of describing the journey someone goes through before they buy from you. See, I just saved you going through a very expensive MBA. Now, most funnels look like this. You have the top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, and the bottom of the funnel. At the top of the funnel, no one knows who you are, and they definitely have no reason to like you or trust you. This will usually be where you serve them some free content on social media, or potentially paid ads, or the odd pesky cold email. The purpose is to introduce yourself and your offer and make them know you. Once they know you, you can move them to the next part of the funnel, the middle part, where you want them to get to like you. So this is usually where you give them something for free. That could be a lead magnet. You send them through an email sequence where you give them some free value, and by doing so you demonstrate your expertise and they start liking you because you're helping them for free. And then you can move them to the last part of the funnel, which is the bottom, and this is where you cash in on all that goodwill you've been building up by asking for the sale. That could be on a sales page where you sell a product, or it could be on a sales call where you sell them your services. Now, not all sales funnels have to be stupidly complicated. It can actually be as simple as sending a DM, booking a call, pitching your offer, and closing. Boom, you have a sales funnel. But it can also look like a 14-step Russian nesting doll built by a marketing nerd with a spreadsheet fetish. But the important part is this: if you're not mapping it out, you have no idea what's working and what's wasting your time and money. And that's when shit starts slipping through the cracks. So how do you spot those leaks before your sales funnel turns into a colander? Enter the sales funnel mapping tool. If you ever Googled it, you've probably stumbled across tools like Funnelytics or Lucidchart or Miro. And don't get me wrong, these tools are great if you have a fat marketing budget, a project manager called Greg, and a weird kink for drag and drop boxes. But for the rest of us, the freelancers and the startup founders who are bootstrapped, we just want a solution that helps us get from A to B without setting fire to our wallets. So for most of us, these tools are a bit much. Now, I used to use Funnelytics for a lot of my client projects because they had a free plan. Then they get greedy, and now this smallest plan starts at $79 a month and climbs all the way up until $1,000 a month. That's not a funnel mapping tool anymore. That's rent in parts of Eastern Europe. But the good news is that most businesses don't need all the bells and whistles that come with these tools. You just need something that can map out the customer journey and your sales funnel, linked to each of the individual assets, and something you can share with your team and your clients. That's where Canva comes in. Now, I don't use Canva a lot, and call me a boomer, but I just realized they have this feature called Whiteboard. And I've just used it to put together my own little budding sales funnel, and I'll show you here on the screen exactly what I did so you can do the same thing for your business. So let's hop onto Google and type in Canva Whiteboard. Now, here you can see that they already have some funnel chart templates. But if you go on to this, you can see that this is a lot to take in. So let's just click on create a blank funnel chart whiteboard. And here we have a beautiful blank canvas. First, we want to go to the bar on the left-hand side and go under shapes and then click a little box here. And if you don't want my brand colors, you can always make it money green. And then we'll write top of funnel. Boom. So here we have the top of funnel. Now we can just copy that down here, and then we'll say middle of funnel. Copy that again, put it down here, and there is your bottom of funnel. So now we have already started making a map. It's getting really creative here. To make it a bit more visually pleasing, we can also add some nice arrows. Okay, so this wasn't too complicated. Now we need to actually fill in the blanks here. Now, if you recall, the top of the funnel is where people get to know you. The middle of the funnel is where people start to like you. And the bottom of the funnel is where people hopefully trust you enough to give you their money. So let's start with the end in mind. We can click on this little icon here, and then we can add that to the bottom of the funnel. So now we know that is the end goal. But before we get to this end stage, we of course need to introduce ourselves and our offer to the potential clients. And that typically happens on places like social media or cold email. Now you can just type LinkedIn into the search bar here, and then we can add a little LinkedIn icon to our sales funnel. So maybe on LinkedIn, you post some free organic content that educates people on your services and the potential results you can get them if they choose to work with you. That might not be enough because you're only getting 1 or 2 likes. So you might want to reach out to them in the DMs as well. So we can add another little icon to represent that. Either way, after they've seen your content or responded to your DM, they might want to check out your profile. And if you're smart, you'll have a link to a free resource that you can give them so you can make them like you. We call that a lead magnet, and we host those on what's called a squeeze page. And if you go here in the search bar and type in squeeze page, you can probably find something for free that looks like what could be a squeeze page. Let's run with this icon here. Okay, so now we might want some arrows. So if you go up here in the search bar and you click on shapes, you can find they have some nifty small arrows here, and you can actually connect them to each piece so that we know it goes from LinkedIn organic content to your squeeze page. And then we can take this arrow, Command C, copy paste that from the DMs to your squeeze page as well. Very good. Now we have a flow going from your LinkedIn presence to your squeeze page on your website. Now on the squeeze page, the lead magnet is hosted, and after they've signed up for that, giving you their email address, we want to send them some emails to nurture the relationship and demonstrate our expertise so they start liking us more and maybe even start trusting us. Let's head back up here to the graphics, and then we can pick an email icon to represent our email sequence. Now, during that email sequence, we want to have some calls to action, and those can send them to either a calendar page so they can book a sales call with you, or they can send them to a sales page so they can read all about your offer and decide whether or not to buy. So let's find a little call icon here and put there. And then we want to find something that looks like a sales page. I don't know, let's take this one and put here. Now, if your sales page is well written or you know how to pitch on the phone, then you will eventually get the money. And that has now taken us from LinkedIn here, the DMs and the organic content. People have no idea who you are, but you grabbed their attention, you made them interested, you sent them to the squeeze page. This is the middle of the funnel, which then sent them through the email sequence. They got to like you, and then after talking to you on the phone or reading your sales page, they trusted you enough to hand over their money. This is a very simple sales funnel, but as you can see, it's quite effective. Now, the good thing is we can also link to each of these assets in Canva. So if you click here on more, you'll see that there's a link option, and here you can enter a URL, which will take whoever is looking at this map onto that particular asset. So let me show you what I've done for myself. This is my funnel here. And as you can see, I've mapped it out. So we have top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, know, like, and trust. But let's zoom in on the juicy parts here. So this is what my current sales funnel looks like. I have my long form content I put on YouTube, and then I repurpose that content into short form content, which I'll put on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube again, and LinkedIn. That's my short form content, and it's also part of the top of funnel. Now, as another part of my top of funnel, I also have LinkedIn outreach, which I just talked about. You can DM strangers and then introduce yourself to them and get them to know you and like you that way. And I also have Upwork, where I get a lot of freelance clients. So that's also my top of funnel strategy there, because I have a profile with lots of reviews and blah, 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 blah. The short form content and the long form content and the LinkedIn outreach all leads people to the squeeze page. The squeeze page leads people to the email sequence, and the email sequence leads them to the sales page to another email sequence, which then leads them to book a call, and there we have the money at the end. But if it's via Upwork, we skip all these steps in the funnel and we go straight to the call, where I hopefully close them as a client. Here you can see I've linked to my LinkedIn page, so if I need my VA or whoever to collaborate with me on something on LinkedIn, they can also find a link to my squeeze page, which I've hosted on Kit for now, and you can also access access that link in the description to this video where you can join my free course on copywriting. But that's besides the point. They can also go in here directly into Kit and then see the email sequence that I've lined up here, which you can also see if you sign up to the free course I just mentioned. And that's what makes this a very useful tool to have. And if we just zoom out a bit, it actually looks like a funnel. But let's go back to your funnel for a minute here. This is not just a pretty diagram. See it as a diagnostic tool. You can go through each part of your funnel and see what's working and what isn't. For example, are people seeing and engaging with your content on LinkedIn? Is it leading to any leads? Are people actually going to your squeeze page after visiting your profile? If not, you should start by looking at this part of your funnel instead of worrying about all the other stuff that comes after. But if they are going through to your squeeze page and they're also receiving your emails, but they're not going to your sales page or booking a call with you, then it's the emails we need to look at, and we don't need to worry about this part of the funnel or the bottom funnel yet. Now, before we wrap this video up, I just wanted to share a few tips with you that'll save you time and headaches down the line. First of all, once you've built your first funnel in Canva, you should save that and use it as a template. So if you're doing this for multiple funnels or you're doing it for other people, then you don't have to recreate all this stuff from scratch every time. You can just load this up and make a few tweaks and changes to it and you're good to go. The second thing is, you might notice here in the bottom left corner there's a little section called notes, and if you're collaborating with different people, you might want to add some notes to provide context to the funnel. So if it's not super clear already, then you can elaborate in the notes section. That was it. Congratulations, you've now mapped out your sales funnel in Canva, and that makes you more organized than 90% of business owners out there. Of course, mapping out your funnel is only the first step. You also have to make sure that it converts, and that is where copywriting comes in. Every single asset in your funnel, from your social media posts or your ads to your emails to your web pages, all lives and dies by the words you use. Because it doesn't matter how pretty your funnel looks on a whiteboard, if it doesn't convert, it's useless. And that's exactly why I've put together my free email course on copywriting, which I've already plugged a couple of times in this video, but it is free and it's designed for freelancers and founders or marketers, anyone who wants to learn copywriting. Each email takes less than a minute to read and it gives you an actionable tip you can implement straight away. The link is in the description below this video, so make sure you sign up and I'll see you inside.